At California's #1 volume GM dealer, Mark Christopher Auto Center, they're cranking up the heat because summer has begun to heat up and the deals have never been hotter. Right now, you can choose from over 1,600 vehicles in their one giant location with down to 0% for 72 months on selected models. It's California's biggest and best selection, and it's never undersold. Chevys, Buicks, Cadillacs, and GMC trucks. You'll find Mark Christopher Auto Center right on the 10 freeway in Ontario, or you can go to markchristopher.com. Mark Christopher is California's #1 volume GM dealer. Family owned and doing things right since 1975. Remember, they're cranking up the heat on summer deals at Mark Christopher Auto Center, Vineyard exit of Interstate 10 in Ontario.
This is Pastor Greg from Chosen Generation Radio Show, heard right here on Kcaa, 1 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Do any of these sound familiar? Not sleeping well, waking up tired, drinking more coffee than usual, can't stay focused, craving sugary drinks and snacks, feel like you're stuck on a treadmill, having trouble managing your weight, not sick but not firing on all cylinders? Any one of these could mean that you might have a system overload, and Thyrodrenal might just be right for you. Think about it. You've probably been feeling like this for a while. Life has a way of wearing you down, and if you aren't getting the right nutrients, then physical and emotional wear and tear will take its toll. Most of us at some time or another could use some nutritional support for our adrenal and thyroid glands to bring things back in balance. Our bodies respond well to optimal nutrition to keep daily energy levels up and stress levels down. Try Thyrodrenal from Michael's Naturopathic Programs, a nourishing support formula with vitamins, minerals, and herbs to put back what life takes out. Look for Michael's on the label. We're serious about good health. Thyrodrenal is available at leading health food stores nationwide. If you don't see it on the shelf, then ask for it by name. Thyrodrenal.
This is KCAA.
Now, here's a new concept: digital network advertising, where businesses display your ad inside their building. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, your company is going to thrive with digital network advertising. Choose your marketing sites or jump on the DNA system and advertise with all participants. Your business ad or logo is rotated multiple times an hour inside local businesses where people will discover your company. Digital network advertising, DNA, a novel way to be seen and remembered. Digital network advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call in the 909 area 222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293 for digital network advertising. One last time, digital network advertising, 909-222-9293.
Psst. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you know where you are? Well, you've done it now. You're listening to KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station. So expect the unexpected.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for
Hey there, San Bernardino, i.e. the Inland Empire. It's Ed O'Brien here on the Ed O'Brien Show, KCAA, AM 1050, 106.5 FM, 102.3 also. Going out to you at the IE. We got lots to do today. As you know, here at the show, what I try to do is be your Inland Empire professor. So class is in session. And like all classes, you might hear some things you like. You might hear some things you disagree with. But at the end of the day, what we're going to try to do is provide information, some statistics, and we'll wrap it up with steps to move forward. What I am trying to do over the course of the last several weeks is to paint a picture that a lot of our troubles, community troubles, have solutions. Where we fall apart, I think, is getting ourselves focused on those solutions and getting past what we feel and what we want to believe. so that we can get together and look at the data and see what's been studied and what seems to be promising facts. But we got to do something. I think what is clear is that lots of city and county and state leadership is failing us. And what I mean by us is when I come down from my perch up there at 3,700 feet in the high desert, come down to the city, it's ripe with problems. It's plain as day. And we need to work on those. I feel like we have an obligation, whether we, as I've said before, think of the humanity of the situation or the economics of the situation. These troubles cost us lots of money, lost opportunity, and our fellow neighbor, hardships. We have in this city, San Bernardino, murder rate that tops Chicago's. Now, if you were in business and your team was producing results that were worst in the nation, I suspect you'd be making changes. But I also suspect you won't be making changes in the dark. You'd look at sales data, you'd look at regional goods, the bads, you'd look at demographics, you'd look at employee performance, right? For example, if you got a shining star in there that is doing good work, but explains to you that there's opportunities lost because of maybe a lack of advertisement or whatever the case may be, I would think that if it's your money, your career, your income, you would be wanting to know why. And that's what we have here in San Bernardino. And elsewhere throughout the county, this is a county that has lots of struggles. And of course, given the fact that it's land-wise the largest county in the United States, then we've got varying demographics, we got varying geographies, we got urban, we've got rural, we've got conservative, we got liberal. And so we have to cross lots of divides and chasms to get to these solutions. But I would hope that most of us would say, we don't want San Bernardino to have the murder rate that of Chicago. We don't want it. We want to do better. We don't like it. In 2016, according to the Daily Press, Press Enterprise, 63 homicides, 2016. This was in January 1, 2017. We welcomed in the new year in the Press Enterprise with that startling statistics. Deadliest in 2 years. But as we were having deadly statistics over time, even in September, I think is when we, September 2016 is when we reached that of Chicago's murder rate. It was only then that the city adopted a research-based intervention. Look around the country. Go on the internet. Every now and then take time away from watching cat videos or whatever else we watch on YouTube. And take a look at what other big cities do, what they do to intervene in their violence. They take data, they take science, they take academics who research these things, and they begin to attack. For example, Boston did this years ago I've mentioned it before a couple weeks ago and implemented Operation Ceasefire. And it was successful. It was successful over time. And what was great about it is the academics, the nerds that came in from Harvard and said, hey, look, cops, here's what we think. And the cops were like, nay, nay. Nay, nay there, professor. That stuff's not going to work here. But everybody let their guard down, and they collaborated, and they began to put all the cards on the table and implemented the strategy. It's too much to cover here, but it worked. So we have to wait here in San Bernardino till we top Chicago's rate to... Whoa, wait, whoa. Gambling going on here? I'm shocked there's a problem. And finally, the chief of the San Bernardino City Police Department says, oh, maybe we should try to do something. But let's move slowly. Yeah, let's move slowly. I don't like to move slowly when I see a murder rate that is shocking, and that 20 years ago we had implementation of systems that worked. So, what I'm challenging you here today is that our leadership, our employees as taxpayers to the tax man, are failing us. We have a chief says let's move slowly and figures out there's a problem and then decides, well, maybe we should look around the country for solutions. And we had to have people marching in the streets here demanding change. Thank you to those energetic folks that would walk out there in the city in the heat after a long day of work saying we need to change. Because finally they got the police chief to acknowledge and open up his eyes to see there's a problem that needs a fixing. Still wanting to move slowly. But what I'm going to argue today and try to point out to you today that it's not just the law enforcement approach. We need that law enforcement approach. But sadly enough, we have to lock up those folks that have been violent and have essentially thrown their lives away because we can't tolerate violence. But we have to look deeper. We have to look at where is the opportunity to intervene before the murder, before the person goes out and decides that violence is the way to go. And what we have to do is we have to look at the structure of our society, the poverty, the housing. Even Fox News reported about in May of 2016, Fox was taking a look at this and said, looking at the collective data, they were citing a commission study that found that San Bernardino was the most dangerous city in the state. And what they looked at and attributed to the violence is the cost of living, stagnant wages, the poverty rate. We know this. We know that the environment we grow up in influences decisions. I didn't decide to become a Catholic. I didn't decide that I like mashed potatoes and boiled chicken. These are things you learn and you absorb because it's culture. I suppose later on, when you study the tenets of your theology and you study that there is a far more tasty way to eat than boiled chicken and mashed potatoes, you start to make different choices. But in the beginnings of your life, when you're 6, 7, 8, those impressionable years, you do that which you learn from your community. And that, my friends, is what we are going to spend this hour on, and demonstrating the facts and the solutions that go with those facts so that we can make a dent in this terrible murder rate. And we will be back in 90 seconds.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me.
Did you know that every dollar you put into a piece of real estate makes you money 5 ways? Cash flow, money in your pocket each month. Equity capture, the thousands of dollars you create when you have the right team and buy the right property using the right map. Appreciation, real estate doubles in value about every 10 years. Equity buildup, renters pay down your mortgage each month. And finally, the tax advantage. We pay almost no taxes on our cash flow and capital gains. These are the 5 ways we make money in real estate, which is why real estate accounts for more millionaires in the world today than any other investment vehicle. You should have some real estate in your portfolio. To learn how, attend one of our free workshops. Call 1-866-971-8970 or go to getmymapnow.com and register for the next available workshop. That's 866-971-8970 or getmymapnow.com.
Are you tired of CNN constantly negative news headlines? Then come balance with Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. Tune in every Thursday at 7 for the podcast of the year top 10 award-winning show, Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, and FM 106.5, streaming online at kcaaradio.com. Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah, right here on KCAA, the stations that leave no listener behind.
Welcome back to the Ed O'Brien Show. I'm Ed O'Brien, AM 1050, coming to you to the beautiful IE, which I think is the greatest area to live in. When you're hot, go an hour to swim. When you want to escape the city, 30 minutes up to the mountains. Look around the city of San Bernardino, you see these great homes with character. Not line after line of stucco. I'm sort of in the market, taking a look. I love the northern part of San Bernardino with those little houses on the big lots, you know. I'm not picking on the city. I want it to be better. What I am picking on here is the tax man, the leaders who will always find that the problem is outside their control. It's other people. It's never them. Government is the only business, I think, that when it's failing, you could say it's other people's fault. But when your business is falling or your failing or your boss calls you in because you're failing, you can't go, yeah, but it's the other guy over there. It was the other dude in the cubicle. That guy at the cubicle. He's terrible. He didn't go to a great school. You know, it's ridiculous. I see it all the time. Because, you know, when they deflect, like the chief, it's everything else besides my leadership. And we know that he has not implemented things that are 20 years old. He can blame other things. And we want to support the police. It's hard to say, you know, Chief, it's time to take your walking papers and go elsewhere. It's hard for us to do that because we want to buy in. We want that support. And it's always the answer is more police and more this and more that. It's never, hey, we got what we need. Let's be more effective. And that's what I'm going to show you. But just last board meeting, June 13th, Supervisor Lovingood is sitting there and he goes, hey, give me $1 million. I need $1 million because what I want to do is a police sweep. Yeah, $1 million. And he gets it. That's taxpayer money, $1 million. No, like, what's the sweep going to do? How are we going to measure it? What is the implications? We going to write a white paper to demonstrate its usefulness? Like, for example, years ago we went with this in the 1st District. Remember Mitzefelt? he was actually trying to do a good thing. He expanded $450,000 to expand parks, supervision ed parks, so kids could go have a safe place to play. And he took a reaming for finding he was called soft on crime. And so he said, all right, well, let's throw some money. And then he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for a 30-day saturation of police. 450, it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars for 30 days. And go deep into the daily press. I forget the numbers, but I think what we found is we got a few people with warrants. We got drunken publics. We had a couple violations of probation. And I think we got a couple new drug cases. A waste of money. And I bet if you ask the cop in the street, like any other boots on the ground person in government, they'll just shake their head like, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. Trust me, I'm in government. Been in government since I've been a kid in the Marine Corps, 86. I grew up. I'm old. A little bit frustrated. Hey, let's look at this. Here's a fact for you. Heather Sandstrom did her study on the negative impacts of instability in children's lives and how it affects their success. And what she did there is took her, which I like because I struggle with very detailed scientific numbers like the area under the curve and chi-square. So I like these synthesis studies where they bring together what those researchers are finding. September 2013. We know this. We don't need a study. But we used to think the earth is flat. You know, we used to think the sun moved around the earth because that's what it looked like. So we can't always rely on our common sense. So what Susan and her colleague did was delved into the literature. Academically, elementary school children appear to be the most sensitive to residential change as compared with younger non-school age children. Right? We know that. Imagine, think about it when you were a kid and imagine having to be taken out of your classroom and go to another school. But I was lucky enough not to have to experience that. But there are children that do experience it, but they have a mom, a dad that can explain, can nurture, can tell a social story to prepare the child for the move. But imagine that you're living in a single home and the reason why you're on the move is because you have just been evicted because rent went up 20%. And now your mom is in the street with her goods, finding a place to live. These experiences over time, as we now know, impede the healthy growth of the child's brain. Stability is essential for natural growth. And when the child is consistently exposed to uncertainties of all kinds, trouble is on the horizon. Now, some of you are going to be, well, I came over it, I had to walk 5 miles uphill both ways. Oh, I'm so tough, blah, blah, blah. But when I hear that, I ask the people that are saying this to me, well, think about deeply what was going on in your household. And invariably, you're going to find that somebody loved them. Somebody cared for them. And that no matter what the instability was, they were protected. A lot of our kids in this county have parents that are struggling to survive. And we're going to get to some of those facts. But I want to start with this just to set up what we know from the research is that when we can't give the child stability, They are uncertain, and the neurons aren't firing, the synapses in the brain aren't being connected appropriately, and this is happening mostly in low-income environments. Should be no surprise. But I want to point out that there are people that do systematic studies, and this seems to be a well-established scientific fact. Preschoolers, we know this. If they have early care in an education setting that supports their childhood development, they're ready for school. They have the readiness skills, they have the vocabulary, they're not anxious, they're not overly stimulated in negative ways, they feel safe. That's what we need to be doing, folks. We need to be establishing safety, stability. Imagine what we could have done with $1 million. Not just a one-time expense. There are private agencies, there are non-governmental organizations, faith-based organizations that do things that are miraculous on a shoestring budget. But in a whim, we throw $1 million for what's going to amount to police overtime to do a sweep. And we throw $1 million without an indication to us, what is it we're going to achieve? What is the documented problem? How are we going to do it? And after it's done, can we measure its success and tell the American people, goodness gracious, here I go again. Ay, settle, Eddie. Settle down. Oh, thank God I'm told there's got a break coming up. You know, this is what happens even when I'm in the house or I'm at work and I'm getting all worked up. I have to, like, go brush my teeth or something. Okay? So we know this. There was also a study in the Journal of Epidemiology, Community Health in 2000 done by Professor Cuban and LeClaire. This is a great study. Go to the library, take a look. This was a long longitudinal study that included over almost 500,000 people from 87 to 94. They followed folks from 87, and then they rounded up the status in 1995. And the broad conclusion here is social inequalities in injury mortality exist for both persons and places. What that means is a person that suffers an injury is obviously going to be set back depending on the hardship. But this also is true for communities. Policies or interventions aimed at preventing or controlling injuries, even to the community, should take into account not only the socioeconomic characteristics of the people, but also the places where they live. And in that report, what they do is spend a lot of time showing that just the housing situation, which you know from past shows, is terrible here in San Bernardino. Lots of kids live in tripled up families in small apartments. And the data is going to be repetitive here because I've used this data before. But now the data is showing how this directly relates to performance in school and whether or not we're using our schools as a defensive against future crime. Even the HUD did a report in fall of 2014. Those that are near poor ranged anywhere between 10% to 14% of the population were living in overcrowded conditions. Now, What they also found in a study related to that, the HUD points out that when you're living in these overcrowded conditions, you're exposed not only to instability because you may have to move because the person that is on the title or the lien or the lease gets contacted by the landlord to get those people out, but also so there's instability that we just pointed out is detrimental to growth, but you're also being exposed to lots of noise, no privacy. Imagine yourself constantly living in an environment at Chuck E. Cheese's. I can't go to Chuck E. Cheese's for 15 minutes without going out of my mind. But imagine a kid having to grow up at Chuck E. Cheese's with no place to go to get some sanity and to have some peace and quiet. Detrimental to their growth, to their sense of security, to their ability to succeed in school. So what we're doing is we're sending children to schools not ready to learn. And that impacts, as we will see, the tendency to crime. Not a causation. There is a strong link to these environmental factors that children experience in their likelihood to fall into juvenile delinquency and future adult crime. And so therefore, we need to look at this challenge of poverty and overcrowding and childhood instability and childhood chaos as a way to prevent future violence and broaden our approach other than throwing $1 million at a sweep. All right, I'm going to try to remain calm. I'm going to take a break here. We'll be back, and when we come back in, let's take a listen to a little bit of the Tax Man.
There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm a tax man. Yeah, I'm a tax man.
Are you still trying to spray away your embarrassing bathroom odors? Now you can vent them away through your toilet as they occur with the MG Toilet Odor Venting System by Manderley Gate. There are no filters, sprays, or batteries to ever buy or replace. Let MG equip your toilet and never worry about embarrassing bathroom odors again. Go to mgequip.com or call 1-800-542-9616. Again, mgequipped.com or call 1-800-542-9616.
Manderley
mgequipped.com or call 1-800-542-9616.
What a great gift idea.
Hi, this is Bobby Cherry, the host of the DRC Wealth Management Hour. Join us every Monday at 3 p.m. where we talk about investments, insurance, commodities, tax, and legal matters. We have a revolving group of guests every week to discuss thoroughly these current issues and how they affect you in your day-to-day life. So please join us on KCAA, broadcasting on 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM.
Welcome back, everybody. It's the Ed O'Brien Show. I'm Ed O'Brien. KCAA AM 1050 here in the IE. My adopted, beloved IE. Been a long-time IE resident. Born and raised in Boston. Out here as a gift of Uncle Sam. As a young Marine, I never wanted to go back. And I really do particularly care about the city of San Bernardino. But we have problems, as I've been saying, but solvable problems if we want to look at it the right way. I was going to, just again, our own HUD. Child development studies have noted that heightened stress, noise levels, lack of privacy, crowding can create, as well as the related psychological distress, detached parenting, family turmoil, poor school adjustment, reduced social cognitive competency in those that have experienced those conditions. Now, what we're going to find out is that when you struggle in school, you begin to fall into various criminogenic risk factors. With low school attainment, obviously, we're going to often have low literacy attainment. And what I'm going to do now, and you all should pick it up. You can go to the internet or go to the library or go down to the board and ask for the 2015 Community Vital Statistics. And you got to credit the administration of Greg Devereaux, who, look, took a lot of criticisms fairly, but also was not given enough credit to his idea that we need data. If we develop data, we'll know the way forward. And he was a big believer in it as that place where we are to the place where we want to go. For those of our children that are living in difficult environments, they lose the opportunity to achieve literacy. And as I will get to, well, I guess I'll just jump to it right now. 30% of our population is illiterate. And when I say our population, I mean here in San Bernardino County. And when you're illiterate, you're likely to become 40% more likely to become teen parents, 50% more likely to be placed in special education, 60% more likely to never attend college, 70% more likely to be arrested for a violent crime. Okay? That's where I wanted to go. 70%. Now, guess what? What I think is a simple idea is think of this. If we see that cute little kid that we strongly suspect is struggling and is illiterate, and we know that he or she should have been more advanced, let's know that there is a strong correlation to illiteracy and future dangerousness, coupled with all of the struggles of instability, as we pointed out before. So when we think about spending $1 million in a one-time expenditure to do a sweep of grown people, may be important. I'm not saying it isn't. But we also should be sweeping our schools to find out those who are falling into these risk categories. Why not intervene before we have a crime, before we have a violent death? I like that idea. And guess what? It's not a needle in a haystack. If we have a child that's not reading, that's a red flag. But what happens is, ask any teacher, there's no support for teachers. There's this support: produce or be fired, produce or be labeled bad. But a teacher might tell you, I'm committed, but I got 65% of my kids coming who are hungry, tired, stressed out, illiterate. Children from challenging socioeconomic backgrounds who do not receive high-quality early child education are 25% more likely to drop out of high school. From our own data, from our own San Bernardino data. In 2014, 30% of San Bernardino County preschoolers were enrolled in early childhood education. 40% nationwide. 47% nationwide. We're failing. We're failing to protect ourselves. Think about that. We know the risk factors. We know the likelihood. But yet we would rather do the sexy thing. Let's have those sexy things like SWAT and sweeps where the cops don these paramilitary, sometimes military gear and things that look like tanks and battering rams to do sweeps. Sure, I'm not saying don't do it. I'll tell you this. A cop on overtime costs way more than a teacher. A cop on the street costs way more than a teacher. Look at the pay. Look at the pay of what a teacher gets compared to a cop. I suspect the teachers, given the right tools, will prevent more crime than the cops. Police and policing is mostly a reactive agency. The thing happened. Now let's clean it up, find out who did it. Very difficult. Very infrequently. Email me, text me, call and yell at me. But I'm telling you this, I very rarely see that the cops intervened and stopped the crime. But we're failing to put our kids in early childhood development, which we know would stop crime because they would be successful. So, we want our parents to be working. Annual cost for full-time child care in San Bernardino, $9,463. $9,463 for me to put my kid in child care. The average. Our poor families can't afford that. And because they can't afford that, and we're not opening up enough places where the children can go for preschool education, we are laying the groundwork for violence. We are not protecting ourselves. We are failing those cute kids in school that want to be a fireman, that want to be a police officer, that want all of the things that we want, but in their environment, over time, their brains are impeded, their stress level goes up, their behavior patterns go up, they become labeled jerks, and they get on the jerk track, and as we will see, they drop out. $10,000 for childcare in the IE. And even though we have that cost, we have 6,000 kids still on the waiting list. There are enough licensed child care spaces for only 21% of the children ages 12 and younger with parents in the labor force in San Bernardino County. 21%. That's it. This is the lowest rate among neighboring counties. Lower than the California rate of 25%. Yep, low. Look, it can't shock you that these numbers suggest to you that there is some ability to look, establish risk, and begin to plan for the future of these kids so that we can deter. But we don't have a willingness. It's not sexy. It doesn't sound easy. It sounds nebulous. It sounds so far away, where the police sweep is now. And it's the appearance of security that somehow drives our willingness to spend money. I think I mentioned this last week or the week before, and I saw it in the LA Times or in the New York Times a year or so ago, where they did this study of the airport screeners, and they snuck in over something like 90% of the weapons that were a means of studying the effectiveness of the security. It's not effective. It's a joke. Neither are sweeps. They're not effective. It's a joke, but they look good. It gives us the sense that we're doing something. But what we're doing is not effective. Oh, Joe, I think, is going to start banging on my head if I don't get back to my schedule. Sorry, Joe. Be back in 90 seconds.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me.
Hi, everybody. Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Alladort, my mortgage man, at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early. Purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com. That's loanfinancialplanner.com.
Or call Steve Alladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
KCAA invites you to join Dr. Donald Gabriel Jolly for What's It All About. He's never without words.
I have an opinion about everything.
He talks about everything.
You can say I love you and be fired by the power of the crotch instead of the real meaning of love. You have an illness. It is called terminal acute hornitis.
Join Dr. Jolly for What's It All About? 3 o'clock Wednesday afternoon on KCAA 1050 AM.
Let me tell you how it
Welcome back, everybody. It's Ed O'Brien with my radio voice, KCAA AM 1050. What we're talking about today is let's do that which we know could work. Let's stop being sexy. Let's stop doing all the bells and whistles. Let's get down, roll our sleeves up, and do that which we need to do to make our community safe, because it ain't safe, folks. It's the most dangerous city with the highest murder rate per 100,000 people that you will find. And I hope the implicit argument here is that, I hope you see the implicit argument, and that is, you don't see these things in Brentwood, not since OJ. And it's not that those people are any better. They're not better. It's that they don't suffer these community effects. When you have a 30,000 square foot house and there's 3 of you or 4 of you, you're not really living on top of each other. And that feeds upon itself, because there are also some studies that show that the higher the rate of educated folks in the community brings up the education of even youngsters who were lucky enough to get a voucher that afforded them rentals in the wealthier neighborhoods. What we do know is this: if we take 12 and under and move that family out of a distressed community into a well-off community, those kids do better. That's why I'm all for choice. I say this: I'll drive a bus in the morning. Why don't we all get together, get a bus, meet out here outside the Carousel Mall, and let's all go down to Brentwood Beverly Hills and knock on the 90210 school district and say, we want in. School choice. Somehow I get the sense that that's not what people think of school choice. But I do know this. Those kids on that bus, when we drive them to 90210, if they're, I think it's 12 or 13 or under, will succeed. It's interesting why 13 and at the age of 13 is a critical number, but that would be a way to solve our violent problem. But why do we have such a problem? Wages. That's all. Wages and economic opportunity. Our engine of growth is good for many, not good for everyone. Let me just read this to you. Self-sufficiency wage. The Family Economic Self-Sufficiency Standard measures the income needed in order for a family to meet the minimal basic needs. 2014 in San Bernardino County, a family with 2 adults, 1 preschooler, and 1 school-aged child needed an annual wage of $60,585 in order to meet its basic needs. Our median income falls short, $3,300. Median income. Remember from last week, we know the median is right there in the middle. Middle of wage earners can't even meet basic standards. Basic standards. So what happens? Well, we know from this community vital statistics, can't afford child care, can't find child care, can't find housing. We double, we triple up because we want to be off the streets. But when we do that, unwittingly, we are setting our children up for failure. They go to school hungry, tired, stressed, because as I tried to point out earlier, we know this, that those difficult living scenarios prevent healthy brain development. And as I tried to point out earlier, illiteracy happens. Percentage of the folks living in poverty in San Bernardino County, higher than Los Angeles, higher than Riverside, higher than Orange, higher than San Diego. The percentage of adults living in poverty also grew during the last couple of years. 17% of people living in poverty. Not even making the right wage just to make subsistence living. So, what do? Because we need marching orders, right? We need marching orders. We can't just have this little class with Professor Ed without walking away with some hope. Well, let's hold our leaders accountable. Let's tell the tax man, don't just spend $1 million without telling me how you're going to be accountable. I want to know what you're going to do. I want to know how you're going to do it. And I want to hear a report back that specifies for every dollar spent, this is what we achieved. Require that of the board, folks. Let's not sit back and pick up the newspaper, the Daily Press, the Press Enterprise, the Sun, and really feel like we are now safer because we saw cops ramming through an apartment with a tank. Because all that's doing, folks, is catching the folks we've already lost. Demand that we look at promoting economic growth. We need housing. Bring in the housing. We know this, folks. It's going to get worse before it's going to get better. People can't afford to live at the beach anymore. People can't afford to live in Newport, Orange County, LA County by the beach. They're moving here, willing to drive. And those are the folks that can afford it. It's the truth about immigration. When you can't succeed where you are, you have to emigrate. And they're emigrating here. It's going to drive the prices up for everybody because we don't have the stock. And it's going to affect the poor and the poor kids. They're going to have to triple, double up for longer. Illiteracy comes out. Dropout rates come higher. Spend money in the school. Simple. The teachers know who the kids are struggling. The teachers need help. The teachers need the mental health counselor. They need the social worker. They don't need the school resource officer. What the teacher needs is to say, hey, I'm identifying this kid is struggling. The social worker will connect with the family. Do a needs assessment on the family. We'll find out what is it that the family needs. Sometimes it's health care. Sometimes it's drug treatment. Sometimes it's mental health treatment. But we have put the burden on parents to be afraid to reach out to the school, to find that school as a resource, not only to help themselves, but to help their kid. Teachers need this. They want it. There's a great program, folks, that I keep my eye on, and I am so excited about it because it's led by an energetic fellow that cares about this stuff. It's over at the Colton School District, and kudos to them for spending the money. They're going to flood that district with social worker interns and social LCSWs so that the teachers, the playground managers, when they're struggling, they can refer those kids. And what we're going to do, folks, is we're going to capture those kids before they develop their bad, detrimental choices of dropping out, of illiteracy. Come on, folks. Hold that taxpayer. Let's the taxpayer get together and hold the taxman accountable. Because right now they're skating, and they're wasting our money, wasting our opportunity, and making us unsafe in the long term. Thank you for listening. Have a great Saturday. See you next week at noontime on KCAA AM 1050. School is out.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
You're in